Imagine wearing like a 15-pound, $5,000 piece of art and then voluntarily dragging it across a sticky, crowded dance floor for 4 hours.
Right, which sounds completely insane when you say it out loud.
It really does. But I mean, that is the reality of the modern wedding dress, at least until you introduce this hidden, highly technical piece of structural engineering. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the hidden mechanics of bridal wear, specifically the art, the physics, and the sheer engineering of the bustle.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating topic because we tend to just view these garments purely as fashion.
Exactly. And our insights today actually come from an incredibly detailed expert guide by Dariana Bridal and Tuxedo. Our mission today is to decode how you seamlessly transition a bridal gown from this, dramatic, aisle-sweeping grand entrance to a functional outfit without tearing delicate silk or just ruining your entire night.
And it is a much heavier lift than most people realize, both literally and figuratively. Beneath all that tulle and lace and crepe, you are dealing with, significant weight distribution.
Yeah, you're taking a garment engineered for stationary, regal perfection, right? And trying to retrofit it on the fly for, well, dynamic athletic movement.
Athletic is definitely the right word for a wedding reception dance floor.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because knowing that you need to lift the fabric is one thing, but the actual mechanics of it sound like you need an architectural degree. What exactly are we dealing with when we talk about a bustle?
Well, at its core, a bustle is just a customized system of alterations. It's designed to transition a wedding gown's long train to floor length for the reception.
Right.
And the underlying reason for its existence really just comes down to physics and safety. I mean, a bridal train looks absolutely breathtaking trailing down the aisle, but a standard satin train can easily add 5 to 10 pounds of dragging weight to a dress.
Wow, 10 pounds of just extra fabric.
Oh, easily. And once you transition to the reception, that fabric becomes an immediate hazard. Without a bustle, that 10 pounds of fabric is going to get stepped on by guests. It's going to wrap around the legs of banquet chairs.
Oh, yeah, like a very expensive mop across the venue floor.
Exactly. A highly embellished, very expensive mop.
I feel like if I bought the dress, I should just be able to, reach behind me, hook a few things together, and hit the dance floor. But given the weight you are talking about, I'm guessing it isn't quite that simple.
It is physically impossible to do it yourself. Well, you just can't. The mechanics involve this highly customized series of hooks, buttons, loops, or ribbons. And they're meticulously sewn into the back and interior layers of the dress by a master seamstress.
And I'm guessing since it's all behind you, you can't even see what you're doing.
Right, exactly. All of this load-bearing hardware is situated behind the wearer, completely out of their line of sight. So it requires a dedicated pit crew.
A bridal pit crew. I love that.
Yeah, usually this falls to the maid of honor or a few trusted bridesmaids.
The source material actually highlights a critical operational detail here about that pit crew. It says someone from that team absolutely must attend the bride's final fitting in person.
They have to. And they can't just stand there and watch either. The guide strongly advises that the pit crew records a continuous, well-lit video on their phone of the seamstress actually executing the bustle during that final fitting.
Which makes total sense. I mean, if you are in the bridal suite after the ceremony, the adrenaline is pumping, the lighting is probably dim, and you're just staring at a massive pile of white fabric, trying to remember which translucent button goes to which invisible loop.
It's a nightmare. Remembering a multi-point hooking sequence under pressure is incredibly difficult. A seamstress can bustle a gown in 30 seconds because, well, they built the architecture.
Yeah, they literally designed the blueprint.
Exactly. But a bridesmaid relying on memory might spend 20 agonizing minutes just pulling at delicate seams. The video serves as the definitive blueprint.
And it has to look perfect, right? Not just to keep the bride from tripping.
Yeah, because the photographer is going to be capturing the back of that dress all night long. The way the fabric drapes once it's bustled is actually an intentional part of the gown's final design.
That shifts the entire perspective for me. It really is a feat of engineering. But different materials and shapes must require different engineering, right? Because a sleek, lightweight silk sheath dress isn't going to hold weight the same way a massive tulle ball gown does.
Right, the structural rigging definitely has to adapt to the silhouette. Which brings us to the matchmaking aspect of alterations. You have to match the specific bustle technique to the specific dress architecture.
Okay, let's get into the matchmaking then.
So let's start with the most traditional approach. It's called the American bustle. or frequently the over-bustle.
Wait, if it's an over bustle, does that mean you're pulling the train up and hooking it to the outside of the dress? Doesn't that just ruin the aesthetic? Like, you're going to have visible metal hooks or thick plastic buttons completely clashing with the fabric?
Well, that is exactly where the seamstress's skill comes in.
Yeah.
It's all about camouflage. The American bustle is the ideal match for gowns with heavy, intricate details.
Like lace and stuff.
Yeah, dense lace appliques or complex crystal beading. The pickup points, the anchors, are typically situated near the waistline, heavily reinforced into the internal corset burning of the dress so they can actually bear that weight.
Got it. So they anchor it to the strongest part of the dress.
Right, and then the seamstress will hide the hooks or buttons right within the texture of the lace.
So the hardware essentially just vanishes into the floral pattern when the train is down for the ceremony.
Yes, exactly. And then when the train is lifted and hooked, it creates this cascading, tiered effect on the outside of the skirt.
Aw, that sounds beautiful.
It is. And if you have an exceptionally long train, those points might be spaced out down the back of the skirt to manage the sheer volume of fabric without ripping the lace.
So it's less like just tucking in a shirt and much more like the hidden rigging behind a heavy theater curtain. You know, you are pulling specific load-bearing strings to create a deliberate drape.
That's a really good analogy, yeah.
But if the American goes over the top, wouldn't that completely ruin the clean lines of something like a smooth satin or a crepe dress? I mean, you'd have this weird, bulky lump on the back of an otherwise sleek silhouette.
Which is exactly why the French bustle exists. It is often referred to as the underbustle, and it tackles the exact problem you just described.
Oh, okay, so it goes underneath.
Right. Instead of cascading over the top, the fabric folds underneath itself. A series of color-coded ribbons or buttons are sewn to the interior lining of the gown.
Hey, color-coded.
Yeah, to help the bridesmaids match them up.
That is genius. So absolutely zero hardware is exposed on the exterior.
None at all. This makes the French bustle the flawless match for column, sheath, fit and flare, and like mermaid silhouettes.
Because they're so smooth.
Exactly. When you are dealing with fabrics like crepe or smooth, unembellished satin, you really rely on incredibly clean, uninterrupted vertical lines. An exposed button, even a tiny clear one, breaks that visual plane.
So by folding the fabric under, it's almost like a reverse accordion.
Yes. You maintain the seamless look of the gown while securely lifting the train off the floor.
I see the distinction. So American cascades over for textured dresses and French folds under for smooth ones. But the source material details a third option that sounds wildly different, the ballroom bustle.
Ah, yeah. The ballroom bustle is like the master illusionist of the group. Its primary goal isn't just to lift the train, it's to make the train completely disappear from existence.
Okay, how is that even geometrically possible? If you have 5 extra feet of fabric dragging behind you, you can't just make it vanish.
Well, it requires an immense amount of mathematical precision from the tailor.
Math. In a wedding dress.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Multiple anchor points are sewn completely around the bodice, not just in the back. And the fabric delicately folds into itself, tucking and pinning at very precise intervals so that the entire silhouette of the dress is fundamentally transformed.
Wow, so it takes all that excess length and distributes it evenly around the entire circumference of the skirt. So if a guest walks into the reception, they just assume you bought a standard floor-length gown to begin with. They'd never know there was a massive train an hour earlier.
That is the illusion. But it requires the seamstress to calculate exactly how the fabric should fold to maintain a perfectly even, hovering hemline all the way around the body.
That is highly technical tailoring.
It really is.
Okay, so we have the cascading American, the sleek interior French, and the magic disappearing ballroom. But there is one more mention in the guide that seems to bypass this entire engineering conversation. The wristlet, or the DIY loop.
Yeah, the wristlet bypasses the bridal party pit crew entirely, which some brides love. It is just a simple, reinforced loop securely attached to the underside of the train's hem.
So the bride just holds it.
Right. The wearer slips their hand through it and physically wears the loop around their wrist, lifting the fabric themselves as they walk or mingle.
I picture that looking incredibly chic, like treating your dress like a glamorous accessory, you know? You are just elegantly swooping around the room with your train on your wrist, totally in control. Why doesn't everyone just do this? It saves all the stress of hidden hooks and frantic bridesmaids watching iPhone tutorials in the bathroom.
Well, what's fascinating here is that we run face first back into the laws of physics.
Oh, right. The weight.
Exactly. The wristlet is a fantastic, simple option, but it is strictly limited by the localized weight of the fabric. It is exclusively matched with lightweight, airy fabrics.
Like a chiffon or an organza.
Yes, in a very simple, minimal trains.
Because if you try that with heavy fabric, you are basically carrying a dumbbell on your wrist all night.
Imagine carrying a 10 to 15-pound bag of groceries on one finger for a 4-hour reception.
Oh my gosh, no thank you.
Right. A full skirt made of heavy satin or a gown completely covered in dense crystal beading carries immense weight. Expecting someone to carry that dead weight on a single wrist loop is a recipe for physical exhaustion, restricted movement, and quite possibly a strained wrist.
So you have to distribute that heavy load across the structural core of the dress, like the reinforced bodice, using an American or ballroom bustle.
Precisely.
But distributing 15 pounds of heavy satin across a bodice isn't just a physics problem, though. It's a labor problem. And highly skilled manual labor translates directly to the one thing every couple dreads, which is hidden costs. Let's dig into the economics of this architecture.
Yeah, and the guide is very transparent about this reality. You really must factor the bustle into your overall dress budget from day one, because it is almost never included in the base price of the gown.
Never. Wow. So what are we talking about in terms of numbers?
Well, depending on the number of bustle points required to safely distribute the weight and the complexity of the style, the estimated costs range from $50 to well over $250.
That is a massive variable to leave floating in a budget. I'm assuming that intricate magic trick ballroom bustle hits the high end of that spectrum.
Oh, without a doubt. If you have a massive ball gown that requires like 15 different pickup points to evenly distribute the weight and fold the fabric properly, you are paying for hours of highly skilled custom labor.
Right, because the seamstress is mathematically calculating hem lengths and hand sewing anchor points into corset boning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a simple single-point American overbustle on a light crepe dress will hover near that $50 mark. But an intricate 15-point ballroom bustle will easily push past $250.
Okay, so let's say you are looking at your budget and trying to optimize. You want the grand, regal entrance. You want the dramatic photos walking down the aisle that absolutely require massive length and volume.
Sure.
But you do not want to pay a $250 engineering bill for a heavy bustle, and you don't want to carry all that weight around at the reception. How do you hack the system?
The guide actually shares a brilliant workaround for this exact scenario.
Oh, do tell.
If you want maximum drama with minimum reception weight and alteration costs, you shift the structural burden to your accessories.
Accessories, like the veil.
Exactly. You opt for a wedding dress with a very short, highly manageable train. Perhaps a sweep train that barely grazes the floor by a few inches.
But then you lose the dramatic aisle walk. A sweep train doesn't fill the aisle.
It doesn't, which is why you pair that short train dress with a cathedral or royal length veil.
Wait, what exactly is a cathedral veil? Are we just talking about a little extra tool dragging behind the head?
Oh no, we are talking about a massive statement piece. A cathedral veil extends wildly past the hem of the dress, often measuring 120 inches or more in length.
Wow, 120 inches.
Yeah, it drags 3 to 4 feet behind the wearer.
Hmm.
And you can choose a veil that is heavily ornate, covered in pearls, thick lace appliques, crystals. You wear that heavy, sweeping, majestic veil for the ceremony and for all the breathtaking, dramatic portraits.
I see where this is going. You get the visual footprint of a massive train, but all the weight is anchored to a removable headpiece.
Correct. For the reception, you simply pull the comb out of your hair and remove the veil.
That is so smart. You got the massive, dramatic entrance for the ceremony, but when it is time to hit the dance floor, you aren't paying a tailor to bustle it, and you aren't dragging its weight around.
Yeah, and the guide also notes that detachable trains or modular overskirts achieve this exact same hack. You just snap the heavy volume on for the ceremony and unsnap it to leave it in the bridal suite for the party.
It is basically modular, hackable fashion. I love it. But let's look at the worst case scenario. Say you didn't go the modular route. You budgeted properly. You chose the perfect French bustle for your mermaid gown. The seamstress anchored it flawlessly into the lining. Your pit crew watched the video and hooked it up perfectly.
Feel a butt coming?
Yeah. And then you're on the dance floor, the crowd is jumping, and someone's stiletto heel comes down hard right onto your hem while you are moving forward.
The sharp tearing sound every bride dreads.
Exactly. Let's talk crisis management, because regardless of how much you paid the seamstress or how many anchor points they used, we are still talking about a localized point of thread fighting against the entire forward momentum of a human body.
And that is the harsh physical reality. The guide is very clear about this. Bustles can and do break,
Even the expensive ones.
even the expensive ones.
Yeah.
When a heavy dress is stepped on, the resulting tension creates immense pounds per square inch of pressure on a very small area.
Right, because you are relying on a few tiny points of thread to hold the whole operation together.
Yeah, and if the fabric is pinned to the floor by a shoe and you lunge forward,
The weakest point of resistance is going to violently give way.
exactly. And that is almost always the thread of the bustle point.
So the dress drops to the floor, panic ensues, the fabric is getting trampled.
Sure.
What is the emergency protocol here?
Well, the protocol actually begins weeks before the rip happens. It requires building a highly specific emergency kit for the bridal suite.
Okay, what's in it?
The guide explicitly outlines 3 structural items you must have on standby: safety pins of all varying sizes, a sewing needle, and clear fishing line.
Wait, here's where it gets really interesting. Clear fishing line. We are talking about luxury crepe, delicate chantilly lace, and high-end silk, and the expert advice is to bring literal tackle box equipment to a luxury event.
It sounds completely contradictory to high fashion, I know, but the fishing line is the ultimate lifesaver. Think about the physics we just discussed.
Okay.
If you try to use a standard cotton sewing thread from, like, a hotel travel kit to repair a torn bustle on a heavy satin train, what do you think is going to happen?
I guess that cotton thread will snap immediately under the sheer weight of the fabric the second you start walking again.
Exactly. But fishing line, however, is engineered with incredible tensile strength to reel in thrashing heavy weight without snapping.
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant application of material science. It has the tensile strength to hold the 15 pounds of satin that standard thread just can't handle.
Right? And crucially, it is transparent. So if a French bustle ribbon violently tears loose underneath the dress, a bridesmaid can quickly thread a needle with the fishing line and aggressively stitch the ribbon back into the heavy fabric lining.
And because the line is clear, even if her emergency stitching is, messy and not professional level neat, it won't be visibly obvious.
Exactly. It's a quick and dirty fix, but it works flawlessly.
But what if the damage is catastrophic? What if the fabric itself ripped through or the anchor point is completely shredded and you can't just quickly stitch a ribbon back on in a 3-minute bathroom break?
That is where the varied sizes of heavy-duty safety pins come in. For complicated, catastrophic tears, the emergency protocol is clamping.
Clamping?
Yeah, you use an oversized heavy-duty safety pin to securely clamp the broken bustle point together from the inside, gathering the fabric as best you can.
So it won't look as flawlessly draped or mathematically perfect as the original tailor intended, but it achieves the primary goal.
Right. It gets the fabric off the floor securely so the wearer can get back to their own party safely.
It's pure structural triage. You diagnose the break, apply the strongest structural fix possible, and get back out there.
Precisely.
So what does this all mean? We've covered everything from matching the interior folds of a French bustle to a clean crepe silhouette, to budgeting for the intensive labor of ballroom points, to literally packing heavy-duty fishing line next to the setting spray.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. But to me, it means that being meticulously well-informed about the structural mechanics of your attire is the ultimate key to a stress-free celebration. Because when you understand the engineering, you control the dress, rather than letting the dress control your night.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights how practical knowledge bridges the massive gap between our romantic aesthetic ideals and physical lived reality.
Oh, for sure.
You simply cannot fully immerse yourself in the joy and romance of an evening if you are constantly terrified of tripping over your own hemline or carrying 10 pounds of dead weight on your wrist.
Right. It's fundamentally about freedom of movement. And actually, there is a fascinating historical context to ponder here as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Oh, I love a good historical context.
Consider for a moment the very existence of the train on a dress. Historically, dragging excess, heavy fabric behind you was a massive, deliberate status symbol.
Oh, sure.
It was a literal way of flaunting your wealth to society. It proved you were so wealthy you didn't have to do manual labor, you didn't have to worry about the dirt on the ground, and you had a team of servants to manage your environment for you. The train was the ultimate symbol of static, restrictive luxury.
A physical manifestation of being entirely removed from the practicalities of daily life.
Exactly. Yet today, through the clever, hidden engineering of the bustle, we've taken that ancient symbol of restrictive wealth and we've completely hacked it.
We really have.
We've built an architectural blueprint. using hidden ribbons, complex geometry, and sometimes a little transparent fishing line that allows the modern wearer to seamlessly transform from a regal, static icon for a few minutes into a dynamic, active, unencumbered participant on the dance floor.
It isn't just a sewing technique when you look at it like that.
No, it's fashion evolving to match the autonomy and freedom of the person wearing it. So, next time you see a bride effortlessly spinning on a crowded dance floor, you'll know exactly what structural magic is holding it all together. Keep exploring the hidden mechanics behind the magic, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.